It's good to see you all and appreciate your joining. If you've never meditated before, that's great. We're going to be starting with the basics and then using the time, hopefully, just to generate more awareness about what we're feeling in our body and in our emotions. One of the thoughts that I love in mindfulness is the idea of responding to a situation rather than reacting. And I have a 4-year-old son and a 9-month-old daughter. Very often I'm reacting to them. They'll do something, and without even thinking, I react. And one of the things I'm trying to work on with mindfulness is to notice what I'm feeling, having a little bit more agency to choose how I respond to that situation rather than just the knee-jerk reaction. And so we'll be working with that a little bit today. For those of you who are new, you can do meditation in any way. Most likely you're all seated today, so we'll do it seated. But we can do meditation walking or lying down. You can really do it in any way. But I'm just going to assume that you're seated like I am. And you can do this with your eyes open or closed. I prefer closed because I get really distracted visually. But if you want to keep your eyes open, there's something called soft gaze, which is where you just kind of let your eyes fuzz out a little bit, where it's not really focusing on anything, but just maybe looking down. And if you want to keep your eyes open, you can do that. So I would invite you to either close your eyes or to use that soft gaze. And just to check our posture, I like to start by taking my shoulders, moving them up towards my ears, and then back and down. Just helps me get a posture that's a little bit more alert, a little bit more regal. And then I check my spine. I want my spine to be straight, but every other part of my body relaxed. So my forehead is relaxed. My jaw, I'll wiggle back and forth to release some tension there. Might make some fists with my fingers and then let go to release that tension. My shoulders relaxed, my belly relaxed, my legs and my feet relaxed. Just that spine straight. And then I would invite you, we'll do a series of 3 breaths just to kind of get more in our body. And you can do this at your own pace, but we're going to do a deep inhale into our belly, deeper inhale than we normally do. And then I like to release it with a sigh or with a noise. It just kind of helps me, I don't know, helps me get more present. So you can do those at your own pace. I'll do them as well. And then returning to breathing normally. And we'll take a minute or two here just to sit in silence, to try to bring our awareness, slow it down. And usually my breath is a nice way to do that. And so 2 different techniques I can use are, the first one is just every time I inhale to label that breath as in, and every time I exhale to label that as out. And it just kind of gives my mind something to fixate on besides wandering or planning or all the other things I get caught up in. So you can try labeling those inhales or exhales. Or a second approach that's pretty common is to count from 5 down to 1 on each exhale, and to either um, once you get down to 1 to go back to 5 and start over, or if you get distracted and lose your count, just to start at 5 again. So either of those techniques, labeling in and out, or counting the breaths from 5 down to 1 and repeating, just choose one and try to stick with it. And we'll just sit in silence here for a few minutes, just to settle our minds. And if your mind has wandered, try not to be judgmental about that. Try not to beat yourself up, but just take that as an invitation to start over, to let go of whatever thoughts have carried you away, and just come back to the simple practice of paying attention to your breath right now. And again, if your mind has wandered off, not viewing that as a failure, just view that as an opportunity to start again. Every single moment is a new opportunity to start afresh. So if your mind has wandered, just gently coming back and beginning again. And we'll move on from there. You can let that practice go of labeling or counting your breaths. And I would invite all of us for the next period of time here, as we sit in silence, as you try to just remain aware of your breath, I'd love to invite you just to be aware of anything that comes up for you, whether it's a physical sensation in your body, maybe discomfort, maybe tingling, maybe aliveness in a different part of your body, just to be aware of that. And beyond that, if you notice any feelings or emotions, if you notice joy or sadness, excitement, boredom, just to try to be aware that that emotion is occurring. And as you do so, trying your best to take on the role of an impartial observer, to just bring curiosity to this moment and trying to avoid getting hooked by that emotion. By hooked, I mean when you start to identify with it or you get that emotion taking you away with it. Instead, trying to be that neutral observer who just notices it. Isn't that interesting? I feel sad right now. How interesting. I feel tired right now. And avoiding assigning any meaning to it, any good or bad, any right or wrong, but just noticing it as much as possible. How interesting. I feel excited right now. Or how interesting. I feel really bored and disappointed that I decided to join this session today. Whatever it is, there's no right or wrong. And so we'll take a few minutes here together and just see if you can slow down. Notice any physical sensation in your body or any emotional state, and just acknowledge it and not be hooked. Just allow it to be there. One of my meditation teachers would often say, "May I meet this moment fully. May I meet it as a friend. May I meet this moment fully. May I meet it as a friend." And so in this moment, try your best to be friends with whatever you experience. Right now, I have a slight pain in my upper back. Can I just experience that discomfort fully, not rush it off, not try to feel better, not feeling bad about that, but just allowing that discomfort to be okay, to be there. And oftentimes, if I do that, I'll notice that that sensation is only there for a few moments and then it moves on. But sometimes I cling to it. Sometimes I keep it around for hours rather than just for a few seconds. And so just paying attention to your physical or emotional sensation. Can you meet each emotional sensation fully? Can you meet it as a friend? And sometimes I'll even say to myself, like right now, I notice a little bit of sadness in my body. Sometimes I'll just say to myself, it's okay to feel sad. Everyone feels sad at times. And just breathing into that, not rushing the sadness out the door, not trying to push it away or cram it away, but just letting it be there. And just noticing if that shifts, what else comes up. I notice right now I'm feeling a little bit more relief, a little bit more relaxation. And in just the same way, I just want to acknowledge it. I see the part of me that's relaxed. I see the part of me that is relieved and not clinging to that, not trying to stay relaxed and relieved forever, just letting that emotion stay for as long as it needs to. And when it moves on, not trying to force it to stay. So, moment to moment in this practice, we're trying to be honest about whatever we're feeling physically or emotionally. We're trying to let go of that urge to cling to the quote unquote good feelings and trying to resist that very natural urge to push away what we might view as unpleasant emotions, but instead just noticing them arising or falling and being content with the good feelings, being content with the bad feelings, letting them stay as long as they need to. May I meet this moment. May I meet this feeling. May I meet this physical sensation fully. May I meet it as a friend. And again, if your mind wanders, be okay with that. Just gently bring yourself back to silently observing how each moment changes, one moment to the next. Just trying to be open and observant of what each moment brings, whether it brings a different physical sensation, whether it ushers in a new emotional state, just being aware of it, just trying to notice it. Isn't that interesting? Moment to moment. One of my meditation instructors talked about how we can almost always handle any moment, any individual moment, if you start to become aware of just the moment to moment experience, any moment that arises, we're able to handle. It's just that we often glob moments together. It's just sometimes we tend to just really glue one moment to the next to the next, and it starts to gather this weight, this force that's not really there. And if we can slow down just to see that life is just tiny, 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 minuscule moments, one to the next, we realize we can handle any tiny moment in and of itself. And we start to notice that these moments are pretty transitory. I notice in myself moments of joy, followed a few minutes later with moments of sorrow, moments of boredom, followed by more moments of excitement, and just being okay moment to moment. We'll bring our practice to a close here in about a minute, but just starting to breathe into your belly, bringing more awareness back to your physical body, maybe flexing your fingers into fists, maybe moving your toes around, starting to get some blood flowing back in your feet and your hands. Maybe even moving your shoulders side to side if that feels good. Just bringing some life back into our bodies after we've been idle here for a few minutes together. And I would invite you to take one last deep breath into your belly and out, and then just to notice what you're feeling right now. Almost as if you're bookmarking how have you felt after this 10, 15 minutes practicing here. And being okay. Maybe you are walking away feeling worse than you showed up. That's okay. Maybe you're walking away feeling better. That's okay too. Maybe you don't feel anything. That's okay too. Just being okay, but observing how you feel after this short session together. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, you can relax your body, and you can come back to the call. Thank you all for joining. Hope to see you next month. Take care.